So, audio image is an experimental approach into how we can create an image with the absence of the literal image. Uh, I've divided this into different sections based on different approach and techniques. So some featured in this will be music concrete, synesthesia, and field recordings. So all the sound within this documentary is made without the literal image in place. So I think that all the music provided is a template for people to build their own imagery of what's happening with the audio. The idea about making the documentary was just so that I could properly show you things such as field recordings and how I created the sounds that will be shown in the audio. So, Walk on the River is the first segment of my documentary, and it's inspired by my grandfather's story of his own father who swam from the outskirts of Bristol into the city centre, and it got me thinking about this idea of contrast between rural and industrialness of the city, and I felt the best way to show that through audio was to collect field recordings, which I done over one day in December in Bristol, where I actually went out and took field recordings of rural areas. So, I had some fabulous recordings of wildlife, country gates closing, rowers, gullies, footsteps through mud. And this idea of field recording was inspired by people like Matthew Herbert, who famously done One Pig, which is a field recording of a pig's life up to slaughter, and people such as David Holmes, whose 1997 album Let's Get Killed was based on field recordings taken from New York City. So yeah, I wanted to tie it all together, and I done that through rustic instruments such as acoustic guitar, mandolin, harmonica. And something else that intrigued me was this idea of spoken word and having vocal takes coming in, and that was influenced by Michel Gian, whose work like Sanctus and Gloria include a lot of spoken word pieces that sort of get, it's music concrete and they sort of get fixed together. Same with more commercial albums such as Pink Floyd's Wish We Were Here and Dark Side of the Moon, where you hear vocal takes sort of swaying in and out of the audio, talking about off on tangents about different things. So yeah, I wanted to really divide it up into two sections, and I done that through the sound of a train coming through, which was recorded on the Feeder River, which is coming in towards Temple Meads, and it sort of breaks up, so that's the point where it changes from rural, which you'll hear on the audio, into the more industrial area of the city. So the city's field recordings really were taken up by things such as, workmen with buzz saws and things going around, and car horns, police sirens. There's people in marketplaces talking, and brass bands and stuff. It was quite hard not to get people playing Christmas songs in December on the street. So yeah, buskers playing con. So there was plenty of life there, and I wanted to give this sense of parody and contrast to the rural areas. So I wanted to, using music concrete, so looking into people like Michel Gian, create this real cluster and make it sound very eclectic and built up, and not as lazy as this walk through the rural areas. So I think that it's a good contrast between the two. So I hope you enjoy it.
At Salford, and I swam into the centre, but the centre not like it is now. They put the river now. And the river used to come in right round, and they come up towards the end of this boat body, not to the boat body. And while we had that weird that we were singing that. So he said, "Do you think that you sing a prayer to her? So I get paid now." She said, clear off, nobody gets paid.
So for the synesthesia element of it, I elected 3 colours, which were blue, black and red, and used different techniques on each of them to create the colour itself. So on blue, we actually took a visible colour spectrum and tried to match the frequency that we're playing to the spectrum. And you know, we done things such as swells, using a paintbrush on the strings to create this real sort of ocean effect. Moving into black, we actually got the sound of a black wormhole, which was free domain. It was recorded by NASA, and played that through the back, and then I used things like an E-bow and some suspenseful strings on synth to, you know, give this really sort of obscure spacey effect. Into red as well, I used the Schecter baritone guitar and played a chromatic, quite in-your-face riff, and leading off of that as well, we had quite aggressive drum machines coming in. So yeah, that's my take on how to create synesthesia anyway. So I hope you enjoy it.